Surviving Divorce, Part 2, this week on Rebuilding Me Brick by Brick. I'm Sal DiGuardia. Guys, I've been through divorce 2 times, so I know what you're going through, what you maybe have gone through already, or if you're lucky enough, what you're going to be going through every 13 seconds, or by the time you're 30, yep, there goes another one. Every 13 seconds, or almost half of marriages are going to end in divorce, maybe even by the time you're 30 years old. And it's no secret, but I'll go ahead and recap it for you. Going through my first divorce, messy, gross, lost access to my kids 2 times. And it took me about 3 or 4 years just to get my head screwed on even kind of straight and start moving forward. I covered some of my story in last week's video, and I'll go ahead and throw it up and link it in one of the cards before the end of this week's episode if you want to check it out. And this week I want to share with you what helped change my mindset from being drunk all the time, picking up a DUI, blacking out in the club every weekend, SWAT team showing up at my house after threatening suicide, losing access to my kids, and bouncing around from 9 different jobs in just 3 years to finally starting to put some of the pieces of my life back together again. And the turning point for me was being late to work about a half a dozen times within 30 days. And my manager sitting me down at the time and having the talk about attendance. Now, at the time, I lived about 60 miles from where I worked. So I worked in Mesa, Arizona, and I lived in Surprise, Arizona, which on a map is almost the complete opposite ends of the planet from each other. And I don't know what made me think that this was going to be a good idea. But my girlfriend at the time and I, we found a really good price on a rental home in Surprise and decided to go ahead and make the trek 60 miles to and from work every day. 60 miles one way, 120 miles round trip. Now, at the time, I was a contractor for one of the largest telco companies on the planet. If you Google telco companies, you'll probably figure out which one it is pretty quick. But the bottom line was, for me, after losing or leaving 9 different jobs in 3 years, this job was pretty solid and failure was not an option. So in my infinite wisdom, I moved by myself without my girlfriend. In fact, at the time, I moved out on a day that she was at work. One of my best friends helped me pack all my shit up and move it to a shithole apartment in the center of Phoenix, Central Phoenix, where I got a good deal on an apartment, but it was a total shithole. It was just roach infested, maggots falling out of the fridge, bars on the windows. My ex-wife brought the kids over the first time and said, no. But this was it. This was where I decided to move to. And funny enough, it was still an hour and a half to get from home to work every day because at the time I didn't have a vehicle. So I was walking to and from the start and the end of our metro train system in town. And I would have to get up, get to the train at 5:15 in the morning, take the train for about an hour to where it stopped at the end of the line, and then walk another half hour to work. So this to me was a resolution, but far from it. So again, I'm in the same situation. I'm still late to work every day. Now I don't have the support of somebody who truly loved me and cared about me. And I'm in this just mess of an apartment in Central Phoenix. So what to do next? Something's got to change. And this is the moment that Rebuilding Me was actually born, when I was in that apartment by myself late at night, watching nothing but PBS at 2 o'clock in the morning during their telethon weeks, and came across Wayne Dyer and the power of intention. And one of the things that I knew had to change was I had to focus everything I had on one thing and just make that the foundation and start moving my life forward. And this is what I want to share with you today. So what was that one thing? How did I focus on it? And how did I really start shifting forward? I'd like to share the punchline with you first. So in that very same job where I was a contractor for a large company and not doing a great job of getting to work every day on time, within about 18 months from the time that I started that job, I was actually promoted a few times from taking phone calls at a call center to helping with training classes, helping to lead workshops, to managing a team, to managing managers of teams, all within about a year and a half. And it all started with this one thing. So with all the other distractions in life going on, freshly coming off a divorce within the last couple years, losing access to my kids, regaining access to my kids, losing access to my kids, making the decision to move out from my girlfriend and I's rental home to that shithole apartment by myself. More struggle, more challenges to try to get to work every day on time. I made yet another move, this time with my girlfriend. We reconciled, we got back together, and we made yet another move. This time, when we discussed it, she wasn't excited about the idea, but we moved within 10 minutes of walking distance from my job to our apartment, which was in the red light district of Mesa, Arizona. Not the most glamorous location on the planet. However, it was a step up from the Central Phoenix apartment that had roaches and bed bugs and maggots, oh my. So we moved back in together. Again, not the most desirable part of town, 600 square foot apartment, but it was reasonable, we could afford it. And it afforded me the opportunity to not be reliant on her 100%. And it helped me shift any of the blame that I thought I had for blaming her for me being late to work, whether it was we didn't set the right alarms, or we just got late moving, or we had all that traffic and rush hour and all that stuff to deal with on our 60-mile trek. Now it was 100% on me, and I knew I could get to work even if it meant walking. I could be there in 15 minutes flat. This laid the groundwork for me to be able to get to work on time every day and focus on that one thing. That was all I was concerned with. Could I get to work every day on time? And I did. From there, I was able to build on that foundation and then start actually providing the value that I knew I had inside me. Some of the talents and the tools and the abilities that I had now had an opportunity to shine because I didn't have that distraction or that little dark cloud hanging over me of people thinking, well, yeah, that's Sal, and sure, he's super talented, but man, he just can't get to work on time. And when that started to change, everything started clicking. And that allowed me to start building my own personal brand. And it all started with focusing on that one thing, getting to work on time. From there, I focused on getting back from breaks on time, getting back from lunch on time. So if I had a 15-minute break, my break was 13 minutes. It took me a minute to walk out and a minute to walk back in. If my lunch was 1 hour, it was a 58-minute lunch. And I took a minute to walk out of the building and a minute to walk back in, and I had that buffer. But it was those things that really started help laying that foundation, again, for everything else to open up, all the other possibilities. Now, this isn't a endorsement for workaholic and just work your nuts off and that's it. Just focus on work and screw everybody else. That's not the point. In fact, what I would tell you is that if you're going to go into your job, and I would assume that most of us are in the same position, kind of 9 to 5 or whatever the hours are, but our day's planned out for us, right? We have tasks that we have to accomplish, whether that's answering phone calls, slinging tires, whatever it is. But what I will tell you is that if you're gonna go in to work every day with that kind of focus, I would recommend that you balance that in other ways. So if that means getting up maybe 2 hours early instead of an hour early before you got to be into work, get that extra hour so that you can actually spend some time just quality with yourself, hanging out, whether that's meditation or whatever it is that you need to do in the morning, coffee and a cigarette, or please don't do a cocktail in the morning, but spend some quality time just kind of, letting the day get started without having to rush. That's first. And then 2, consider getting into church. There's church meetings all over the place all the time. Saturday night, Saturday afternoon, Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, Sunday night, Wednesday night, men's groups on Tuesday morning. But think about it, because I think one of the things that's important is that if you're going to pour in that much to other people and to your job and your responsibilities as an employee, you've got to have somewhere to pull that from. And so that's one of the first things I would say is get involved somewhere. It doesn't have to be church. It could be AA. I don't even care if you're not an alcoholic. You can show up to an open meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous and just sit in the back and say, "Hi, my name is, and I'm just here to observe," and that's it. But do something. And so feed yourself, man. Feed your heart, feed your brain, feed your soul, whether that's reading books or consuming content here on YouTube. Maybe stay away from the World Star stuff and just focus on stuff that's positive and motivating and inspiring, stuff that's really going to get you excited about the day ahead so that you can focus 100% on getting to work on time every day. And then from there, the sky's the limit. And I'll share it with you again. I mean, the point of me being here and actually having this conversation with you is when I was in that apartment in Central Phoenix and times were tough and I didn't have cable or internet or anything. It was just me and a TV and a couple roach buddies hanging out on the carpet. One of the things that I found was that something needed to change, and I knew that there had to be a better way to live. And I know that for those of you that have gone through it or are going through, whether it's divorce or loss or separation or whatever it is, that there's a better way. And I know it doesn't feel great right now, and I'm not going to tell you that it's all puppy dogs and ice cream and, you know, there's gold at the end of the rainbow and there's light at the end of the tunnel and all that good stuff, but it does get easier and there is a better way. And it's starting with taking some accountability and responsibility, building on those really small things in the beginning. Then you can start to add to it. So once you're the guy that's known for always being at work on time, and you're there no matter what, and maybe even stay late whenever you're asked, those kinds of things, that opens up more opportunities for you so that you can then start doing the stuff that you want to do, not just the stuff that you need to do to pay the bills. I hope this helps. It all starts with one thing. For you, that one thing may be totally different. It may not have anything to do with work. Maybe it has everything to do with going to see your counselor that you're supposed to see on a regular basis, or keeping up with your doctor and medications, or whatever that looks like. But focus on that one thing. Make sure you've got a good foundation to start with, and I promise you things start to get better. If there's anything that I can do for you to encourage you, if there's anything that the Rebuilding Me community can do to encourage you, definitely let us know in the comments below, or you can always reach me at my email address, sal@rebuildingme.us. sal@rebuildingme.us. You can reach out anytime, and you can find me all over on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, @RebuildingMeUS. We'll see you next time on Rebuilding Me, Brick by Brick.